Hello and welcome to Sacred Psychology, the podcast for misfits and mystics. Here, neuroscience and spirituality go hand in hand. Join me, Tamara Powell, on a no-holds-barred adventure outside the box, because that's where all the truly great shit happens anyway. Welcome back to Sacred Psychology. I'm your host, Tamara Powell. Oh my God, guys, today's conversation is so good. I know I said that a lot, but this is one juicy, powerful, existential, sapiosexual, all the good things kind of conversation. You are just going to want to cozy up with some coffee or a cup of tea, and you're probably going to end up begging for more. I know I did. My guest today is Heather Vickery. She is an award-winning entrepreneur, business owner, and transformational life and business coach. But Heather isn't just a savvy businesswoman. She's an inspiration. The founder of Vickery & Company, Heather is a featured expert on achieving an authentic and meaningful life and designing your own roadmap for balance and success. Keywords there, designing your own roadmap. You know I'm huge on what I call radical autonomy, and Heather knows this firsthand. You see, as a mother of four, her world turned upside down after a major life transformation. Spoiler alert, she came out of the closet. Yep, after marriage and 4 babies, she faced that brave, necessary step of having the unhad conversations. And suddenly, she found herself in a position where she was able to have the freedom to be her most authentic self. She discovered that the same authenticity empowered her with the confidence she needed to repair, rebuild, and reach her life's vision and goals. And that's what she is teaching all of the rest of us. So without further ado, I give you the one, the only, the ever incomparable Heather Vickery. Hey, Heather.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, so good, girl. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I want to just forewarn your listeners. I have a bit of a cold. I say it kind of sounds like sexy hangover voice, but I'm not hungover, I promise.
Oh, you never know. Could have been a good weekend.
Yeah, I did just come off of a week's vacation, but I was with my 4 kids. So on a Disney cruise, there wasn't a lot of adult activity happening.
So funny. I have 2 girls there, 15 and 13, and we were just planning out our next Disney vacation at Christmas time.
Ooh, good for you.
I never outgrow Disney.
It's fun. And actually, my 14-year-old, my kids are 14 to 5, and I have 4 of them. And my 14-year-old is the one that was the most excited or interested in seeing the characters and doing that. The 5-year-old couldn't be bothered. She's like,
whatever.
Okay. I'll stay over here. Like,
it's a princess, but I'm fine. That's awesome.
That's fun.
Tell the people who have not been stalking you like I have a little bit about yourself.
That's such a big story. Well, right? We'll do the short end. We'll do the elevator pitch version.
We'll get where we need to go. Yes.
I know, right? So I am a success and leadership coach. What that actually means is that I help people figure out what they really, really want, why they don't already have it, and how to get it. And I do that via one-on-one coaching, a lot of public speaking. I lead workshops and training. And also I host a podcast called The Brave Files. And we do that there as well.
Mm-hmm. You know what I love about you is that you say you're a life and business coach. And I love how you break it down because I agree with you can't do business without tackling the life stuff first.
No way.
Or at the same time. Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work. And I've had a couple of clients in the last several years who say, look, I really just want to try just doing business. And if I know them, I'll say, okay, let's try it.
Yeah.
And then about 6 weeks in, they'll go, okay, fine. Because I'm like, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. No. And anybody who tells you that it does, they're going to talk about, how much money you're going to make and what your profit margin is. And that's not what it's about. That's not how you make the money, folks. That's not it. So.
No, and then when anything starts to go wrong, it affects every area of your life and vice versa. You can't separate the two.
That's right. And also the cool things, the systems, the strategies, the boundaries, all those things that you do for business, you can use them for your personal life as well. And it makes that shit better too.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, we have so much to talk about. And I want to hit big time this thing that you have about boundaries and balance being your love languages. But before we get into that, this other big story that you have really leads into that perfectly. These unconversations, girl. Tell me about the unconversations and how this big one hit you.
Unhad conversations. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah. You know, we spend our life doing what we think we're supposed to be doing, and we follow the path, and we sometimes don't ever take the side blinders off. We don't look at what's happening all the way around us. And several years ago in my life, I was stuck. I was in the most miserable situation you could ever imagine. Every decision I made was fear-based. What thing would be less terrifying? And I would do that thing. And what that boiled down to for me was I was in a very unhappy marriage. And it was time for me to realize or face to myself and to everyone else that I was married to the wrong gender. Mm-hmm. That's the cute way I like to say that.
I like it.
I came out, I'm a lesbian, all that stuff. But really, I was married to the wrong gender. And that meant that relationship was not going to work long term, despite the fact that we wanted it to. You know, you don't get married to get divorced, right? Even when you think you should get divorced. Mm-hmm. So that was really hard. And I felt so stuck and like I had no choice in anything. And then one day I looked around the breakfast table at my 4 babies, who were still pretty little then. And I thought, what would I want them to do if they came to me in this situation? And I knew that it wasn't, well, suck it up. You made your bed, now sleep in it. I knew I would want them to go out and live bold, authentic lives and to do the thing, even if it scared them. And that was what I needed. That is what tripped my trigger. I thought, if I want them to be able to do that, I have to show them how to do it.
Yeah. God, I love that. Because every parent out there or friend, anyone who knows someone, I often talk to my clients like that, like even my therapy clients, like, what would you say to your best friend right now?
Yeah.
What if you were your client right now? What would you want for you?
That's the worst, though, when somebody says, well, why don't you coach yourself right now? I'm like, oh, shut up.
I know.
I want to be for a minute. But no, that was it. My girls are my deepest why. And literally from that moment on, I was like, I'm going to do it scared. Mm-hmm. I'm scared. That's not going away, but I'm going to do it anyway because the risk is worth the reward. And it can't be worse. I ask clients that all the time. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And it's almost always not worse than where you already are.
Right.
In most cases. So I just upended, my life. I pushed through with my divorce. I started a brand new business doing my coaching, and I opened myself up in a really brave way to the universe. Like, okay, show me what I'm doing. Where am I going with this? And it did. And it's continued to do that. And it's magic.
Yeah, I was thinking about, I totally agree with you. When your current reality becomes worse than this thing that you're supposedly fearing, that's when you'll finally move. But I can't always predict as a therapist or coach how bad it's going to get for someone before they're willing to move. It's like, you talk about that Mark Twain saying about eat a live frog every morning and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day.
It's the truth. I love the eat the frog. I think it's a really great concept. And people who are actually able to do it, it's the truth. But I always tell my clients, if you're not ready to create change, it doesn't hurt bad enough. That's okay.
Exactly.
When it hurts bad enough, you'll do it.
Right. That takes me to another frog analogy. I'm a northern New England girl transplanted here in the South. And down here in the South, they talk about boiling frogs.
and they eat them. I know.
Right. But if they, you keep turning that heat up, and for some frogs, they're just going to stay, especially if you do it slow enough. And it saddens me to see how much shit people are willing to put up with.
They are.
The water is literally boiling. And they're like, this is fine. It's fine.
It comes from this deep sense of lack of self-worth, I think. And people don't even realize how much they don't trust themselves. I spend so much time helping clients figure out how to trust themselves and believe it's that you can't really make a wrong choice. If something doesn't work the way you want it to, you can make a different choice. And you're not stuck. You're not.
Right? You're not a tree.
No.
Get up and leave.
Yes. You're not stuck unless there was a woman that I did a podcast interview with several months ago. And I said, you're not stuck. And she responded with, as long as you don't want to be stuck. You're stuck if you want to be stuck. I'm like, well, okay, you're right. But if you feel stuck, there's a way out. There really is.
Yeah. And you may need some professional help to get you out of that, to tell you the truth. You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes we're too close to the forest to see the trees, and you don't think there's a way out, but
almost always. Yeah. And action is action. This is the thing. I'm like, what is the one tiny thing? Let's identify one little thing you can do right now that will move you. And once you start to move, you take another little step. It's like a baby who's learning to walk. And so just as long as you're not just sitting there doing nothing, you're going to get out of it.
Totally. Reminds me of, I think it's Rolling Stones, right? That's I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And how, to get a little cheeky with it, you can't be satisfied until you take some action.
That's the truth. Yeah, absolutely.
Do something different.
That's a great song, by the way.
I know, right? Appropriate for today's conversation. You weren't satisfied.
I was not.
How did that realization hit you? Was it all at once or was it little by little?
It was little by little. And people always want to know if I always knew, was I deceiving my then husband? And I really wasn't. As I look back, there were plenty of signs, but I did not notice them.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Always. And I didn't know any lesbians. True story. Like in college, I think if I found the lesbian crowd, I knew gay men, but I didn't know gay women. So there wasn't anybody to hit on me or for me to find attractive. And I'm sure if I'd found the lesbian crowd in college, we would have a different story here.
Totally.
Thank goodness I didn't, because I wouldn't change anything.
Sure.
I love who I am. I wouldn't trade my daughters for anything in the whole wide world, right? So I'm so glad that my life unfolded the way it did, despite the things that were difficult and painful and terrifying. They made me stronger. And you can't fail if you learn. So, I didn't know. It started to become more and more obvious that there was some sort of attraction, that I was physically attracted to women, but I still didn't know that meant I was gay. I was like, well, whatever. People try things all the time.
Right.
And then it was just obvious that it wasn't about sex. It was about companionship and partnership and the way I felt internally. And it was just time to face the music. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's so, I personally identify pansexual, so it's a little easier, I think, in some way.
You like all the people. It's
exactly.
Good for you.
All the right people, right time. This personality in front of me. But I think when you are either pretty straight or pretty gay, it can be really tough. So a lot of mine, as such, like my big niche is often LGBTQIA, all the rainbow spectrum. Love you, peeps. That's a tough conversation. How in the hell did you even bring your mouth to form those words to your husband, if you don't mind?
Well, he figured it out and confronted me.
Wow.
And I said, no. Maybe I'm bi. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. And we were in therapy the next day and desperately trying to make it work. And then the more honest I was, the more we talked. And at first he was great. He really was very supportive. He didn't want a divorce. I could, we'll try all the things.
Sure.
Be really creative. We'll find a way to stay married. And the more we tried that, the more I knew it wasn't about sex.
Yeah.
That I needed a real partner. And that was really the catalyst that morning, looking at my girls, was I wanted them to look for full partners in their life and not just be satisfied with what was available.
Damn, what a good metaphor for life.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
absolutely. So it was a tough call. We spent literally a full year, completely and utterly in shock. Like, I don't know what are we supposed to do about this? It was a really difficult time. And then we tried to, like I said, be creative. And then it took us another 3 years to actually get a divorce because we weren't in a hurry. We got along great until the divorce went through. And then he became less friendly. We had all these rules. We were gonna celebrate our anniversary as the day our family started every year. We were gonna take the girls out and honor that. And he says no. And we were gonna agree once a month to go out as a family and do social activities together, so the kids still had that connection. And then he said no. And we were gonna spend Christmas Eve and Christmas morning together, so the girls still had that. And we tried that for 2 years, and then no. So he kept changing the rules on me, which was really frustrating, but he's grieving and he's angry, and I can't blame him for that. And I'm not upset with him for that. So I just try to follow the universe and breathe my way through it. And I do what I think is right. I try to include him as much as possible and support him. And I'm just worrying about me and the girls. And I'll let him follow his own path.
So beautiful. I have a lot of respect for you for being willing to allow him to move through his own process at his own time, understanding that, it's not about you at that moment. Like it's not against you that he's doing it.
I mean, I won't lie. It often feels, of course, against me. When we're arguing about, just the other day, our oldest daughter has the stomach flu, and arguing about whether or not the 7-Up should be flat or not.
Oh my God. Yes.
And the argument goes on for hours. I was like, dude, we're talking about soda. Like, why are you trying to prove that you're right about this? Who fucking cares? So I'm like, that's stupid, but that's the kind of stuff that happens all the time. And
every divorced couple ever. And I just tell people, go ahead. And if it's not a do or die thing, just at least to their personhood, say, sure, okay. And then do what you want anyway.
Exactly.
It's just not worth the energy. So how long has it been now?
We have officially been divorced now for 4 years.
Okay.
My coming out, which was a very slow process and actually an interesting one from a public standpoint. I accidentally outed myself on Facebook. That was fun. But all of that, it's been 9 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quite a while. How long were you together before then?
Well, we were together a very long time. In the end, when we officially got divorced, we'd been together for 14 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
I would never wish that on anyone. It is a beautiful thing that you are showing a different side than what we often see on social media, that you guys did take your time, that you did get creative. I mean, a lot of my couples try opening the marriage. They try, just incorporating different porn, etc. But I love that you were true to yourself and really took the time with it.
I feel very good about that. We don't talk to our little kids about all the ways we were quote unquote creative, but
sure.
I wanted to be able to say to them, we literally tried everything short of staying miserable.
Right.
We tried everything and it didn't work.
And that helps because then you can really sleep at night knowing that there was not a goddamn thing you could have done.
That's right. That's exactly right. And my kids, my little one who was an infant when I moved out and got a new space, she doesn't remember us together at all. When she was very little, we had a dog and she would go, do you know my dog? I'm like, yeah, baby, I know your dog. But my oldest one now says, oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like, I don't know how you two were ever married. So.
Yep. I get that from mine too, about their biological father. And I'm like, yep. Find your right person, my beauties.
Yes.
So you, on that same blog about unhad conversations, I want to read you something that you wrote because I think this is so powerful. You say, whatever it is that in the back of your mind pulls at you and said, I should do this. And you think, I'll do it later. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. I'll do it next year. There's time. But time goes whenever it wants. One second you wake up and there's no more time. Don't live your life with those type of regrets. Make everything happen. Check off everything on your bucket list, on your to-do list, on your personally important list. Listen to the nagging voice in the back of your head. Follow through with what your soul is instinctually telling you is the right thing to do. Don't quit and don't give up. Don't take no for an answer. You are not too busy. Don't live a life of regrets. Girl!
Yeah. Wow. That was good, man.
Right?
Write more. No. That blog post was prompted by the untimely death of my cousin, who was 6 weeks older than me. And I spent so much time in this space where I thought if I had only tried harder, if I'd, he had a slew of issues. And maybe if I'd sat in front of his doorstep day after day, we could have reached him, and we couldn't. But I was left living with that. And I've been able to move past all of that. But it just reminded me that none of it is worth it. If you think about your parents, call your parents, because one day you will not be able to. And we don't ever think about that. If you want to tell somebody you love them or you're grateful for them or you want to try some adventure, like you just don't know when that is not going to be an option again. And I spent too many years not doing the thing, and I'm not willing to go there anymore. And it's so much richer.
So much better. But let me ask you this, because we're in very similar industries, overlapping industries.
Mm-hmm.
You have these conversations, quite sure that you do, with people who are, especially women, afraid to make the leap, afraid to do the whatever that is, if their autonomy bumps up against someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're afraid of being labeled selfish. They're afraid of being labeled the whatevers.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell them?
I play a game that I think works really well. And I mentioned it earlier. I start by saying, what's the very worst thing that can happen? And I'm serious, and I make them list out. Somebody may not like you, or they'll think you're pushy, or they'll think you're bossy, or whatever. List out
your
family disowns you. Yeah, there was that. List out what's the very worst thing that could happen. And then I'll say, okay, what's the very best thing that could happen? And then you switch your mindset into, but all of these good things could come out of it. And then I'll say, is it worth the risk? And usually it is. Usually it's worth the risk, because the bad thing, there's so much less possibility of the bad thing happening than the good thing in most cases. I was very lucky. I mean, I had some struggles with my mom in the very beginning, but it didn't take her long to get in stride. And now she's absolutely spectacular. My whole family and my people are from the South, from Kentucky and Indianapolis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was my mom's biggest concern, was that others would harm me and judge her, and they didn't. And that she was so shocked. But once she got over that, she was able to open up and let it in. But yeah, you've got to put it out there. This is where I always say I combine sort of a woo-woo with really analytic, strategic stuff. I've been a business owner for 25 years. I know how to run a business. And if you can make list building and systems, and then think about how you want to feel.
Yes.
Right? It's all about, so I talk a lot about balance and harmony and boundaries, and that's all about how you want to feel. It's not the scales of justice. It's not like you do this 50% of the time and this 50% of the time. It is simply and solely about how you feel balanced inside. Is it working for you? Is it working for the people around you? Then that's the way to go. And if it's not, identify what the thing is and come up with something you can do to change it, because there's always something you can do to change it.
Yeah, so good point. Something I'm also constantly reminding people, if we're talking about relationships especially, you're not doing anyone any favors by freaking placating them, by showing up less than yourself, as being petty and resentful, even if it's behind the scenes and you think nobody can tell. Like, we can smell it off of you.
Oh my God.
10 miles away, right? Like, that's you attempting not to be your best self. You not being willing to step up to the table to receive all that was meant for you is not doing any of us globally even, a favor.
No. And people know, oh, come on. And that's the word. Have you been on the receiving end of that? I have.
Yeah.
Like, that person's not fully invested in you. And that feels so shitty. And just the truth is better. It's hard, but it's better. It's just better.
Your ex deserved a woman who was going to be lit up for him.
He did, and he does. And I hope so much that he finds one. He found himself engaged and broke that engagement off. But this young woman was not supportive of the fact that there was a mother to the children, right?
Yeah.
Like, guess what? I'm here.
That spot's already taken, boo.
Every holiday. Well, she didn't step in to try and parent them, but she didn't want me around. Like first, he bought a new house and I wasn't allowed to have the address. It's like a mile from me.
Okay, that's crazy.
So for a year and a half, I pretended I didn't know the address. I mean, my kids gave me the address. I didn't go. I wasn't allowed into the house. I wasn't allowed to drop the kids off. I'm like, okay, come on. And eventually he was like, okay, this isn't going to work. And that didn't work.
Yeah, the state of Florida will not even tolerate that stuff. You have to have. In fact, if you even go on vacation down here in the state of Florida, there needs to be an address and an itinerary given to the other parent. They're not allowed to stalk you.
Well, this has been funny. Always have to be careful with these interviews. I never know who's going to listen. Sure. But, we went through a mediator and we did all this paperwork. And it's as if the paperwork was just some sort of fun, silly
suggestion.
Game. Yeah. Suggestions. I have to often remind, like, this isn't these things are not optional.
Mm-hmm.
We agreed to these things together.
No, I appreciate you sharing the little bits that you can, because there are so many people who are finding themselves right now in that exact same struggle. And to just know that they're not crazy and that there's other people out there. Solidarity, my sisters and brothers. It's going to be okay.
It will be okay. Mm-hmm. I have a friend who says, and it's hard to sometimes buy this, but it's going to be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end.
Yeah, I love that line. I really do.
I'm like, all right.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good segue then to talking about boundaries and balance.
Ta-da.
Yeah, they are. And tell me why.
Because they work. Mm-hmm. I mean, really quite simply, because they make me feel whole, and I know it works for everyone else. What it does, boundaries, which really are the key that lead to balance, puts you in control. It takes you from wanting to be empowered to being powerful in your own situation. There's always something you can do to take control, whether you can control everything. My partner was like, are you trying to just create a whole slew of control freaks? I'm like, no, but we need to feel in control of ourselves. So from a basic example, your boss at work is eluding you on something. Well, have you very clearly said, when should I expect this from you? Or what is the date you need this from me? Like if you can be very concrete and specific in your communication and what your expectations are, those are boundaries, you have the upper hand because you have knowledge, and knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm. People are so afraid of them.
Oh my goodness.
It's not what they think they are, but
an extraordinary game changer.
Yes.
Extraordinary. People will teach you in sales courses to end your emails with questions to bring people back in. And I think that is really valuable, but be specific with those questions, right? Like
be intentional with those.
Be intentional. That's my favorite word. If you want to have a meeting, don't just say, hey, so when can we get together? Say, I have availability on this day and this day at this time and this time. What works for you?
Yes. Right? And I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be on the end of receiving that email. It takes the anxiety out.
It really does. That's one of the things people don't realize about boundaries is then everybody is on an equal playing field. They know what to expect of you and they know what you expect of them. If you set the boundaries and then clearly communicate them, and without that, the whole thing was a wasted exercise. You have to clearly communicate them, and everybody knows what's expected. And that changes the whole game.
Mm-hmm. And, well, my brain instantly went with two things. Like, number one, doesn't make you a bitch or an asshole to offer them 3 or 4 times. It's not saying set in stone if they come back and they're like, listen, none of those work, but I would really love to see you. Can we try maybe this? Great. The whole point was you started a conversation.
Yes.
Point number one. But point number two, I think about a lot of my supposed, they may be, but introverted or conflict avoidant. I like to tell them as a therapist, like everyone's conflict avoidant. Like,
sure,
you don't have the corner on that market. None of us like it.
That's so true.
Right? But there are passive ways of asserting a boundary.
Yes.
Absolutely.
God. And also things like your tone of voice. If you say, no, that's not going to work right now, but this and this would work, versus, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Come on, folks. The way your words matter, your tone of voice matters. Even in email communication, I can't tell you the number of clients, and I find it humorous actually, where they really struggle to communicate what they mean to. They sound super aggressive or super passive or one or the other. And so they'll send me, I want to send this email to this person for this reason. And I'll do a rewrite. And then I'll say, you go back and change it into your own voice. But do you hear the difference? And did I capture what you were actually trying to say? And they all go, how did you do that?
Right.
These words matter so much. And that's my superpower, is to hear what somebody says and reframe it in a way that's actionable.
Nice.
And so helping folks figure out how to communicate more clearly to get what they want, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah. It truly cannot be overly stated. In fact. So can we talk for a hot second then about the flip side of it, about people who take pride in supposedly being so boundaried and assertive when really they are just being an asshole?
Sure. I mean, some people are assholes.
But I see this movement, especially, and to get on the woo side of things, this is sacred psychology, and I'm a huge fan of the woo.
Me too.
On one hand, I'm loving the sacred feminism. I'm loving the rise of the divine feminine, etc. However, there is a subculture amongst this global movement who, to me, they're screaming sovereignty. But if you have to shout it, it's like you don't get it.
100%.
Okay, I'm glad.
100%. My background, my entrepreneurial background was in event planning. And we used to always say, if you had to scream that you were a luxury planner,
yes,
you probably weren't.
Thank you. So glad.
Right. So the things you do should speak for you, and your behavior should speak for you, and people should feel comfortable and safe with you. It doesn't matter what business or industry you're in. It's all about relationship building. It's all about trust and honesty. And there are ways to have really firm boundaries and still be kind and thoughtful. And if you aren't, then maybe you're just not a nice person. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you don't know how to tailor it. And that's it. Yeah. And that's it. I have one client that comes to mind right now who is a really wonderful person, and it's interesting for me. So she got herself into this pigeonhole where she happens to be a woman of color, and it's interesting because I'm very white. Mm-hmm. She came to me and said, I think I go into situations assuming everyone's going to think I'm an angry Black woman.
Right.
And then I react to that before before I know that that's the thing. Mm-hmm. And I said, I try to be really careful. And finally she's like, can you just stop? Like, just give me the advice. I was like, okay, but I don't want to cross any lines here.
I don't want to microaggress here. Yes.
Aware. Exactly. Yeah. But I thought that was so intuitive of her. And she's grown so much since then. And the ability to, I said, maybe they are going to think that, and maybe they are already painting you in a certain way, but that doesn't mean you have to be that person.
Right.
So we all have some control. And then perhaps when we shift inside of ourselves, the people around us shift. I use this really basic example. I wear high heels when I speak. And I do that. I used to think I did it because people reacted to me better. They thought I was prettier when I had high heels on. What I finally realized was that I reacted to me differently when I had heels on. I thought I was prettier and smarter and more in control and taller and thinner. And that was the energy I was giving out, and everyone liked it a lot better.
Boom.
Yes. And so that was when she shifted how she walked into a room. Instead of already being an angry Black woman, but being a powerful woman, period. Mm-hmm. People started reacting to that. And it's certainly not to say she's not going to come across this issue again.
Of course.
We have
racism still, yeah.
Always, sadly, but yes. But she has, her business has grown exponentially. But more importantly, her self-esteem has grown exponentially. And that's what it's great work. It feels so good when you can tap into that.
It's really the basis of everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, as within, so without. It's the way that our brains work. That's just neuroscience. And it's the way of, if you want to call it law of attraction, or the way that the universe, it is social psychology. It's everything. The big shifter for a lot of my couples in sex therapy is that. How are you walking into that bedroom? How are you even thinking about yourself when it comes to sex? That can't help but be mirrored back to you, because again, we can all feel it a mile away.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Big deal. We were laughing as we were prepping for this, to start recording for this interview. I was having microphone issues, and you said, no, you sound good. You sound good. I was like, I don't think it's right. And I fixed it. And you went, that's like going from bad sex to good sex.
You thought you were having good sex, and then you had some real good sex. You were like, damn. It's like that Halsey song. I didn't know I was starving till I tasted you.
That's right.
Whoa.
That's the story of my life right there.
Exactly. Story of a lot of people's lives. How most of us realize, shit, I'm not totally straight.
Can I flip the coin on you for just a second?
Sure.
And if we can edit this out if you don't want to use it. But I'm curious, when did you decide you were going to be pansexual? Like, when did that realization come for you?
Like you, it was slow. I'm sure a lot of people wake up probably knowing that, but I was raised in an evangelical Christian household, so it was not on my radar. I had I had thoughts. Like I remember like having a little tickle towards women, probably in my teens, but just thought that was, I don't know, just because it was sex and sex wasn't something that I'd had yet. So it was a slow evolution, I think, as my religious views expanded. I now identify as an omnist. I think I gave myself permission to also expand my sexual worldview.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I always find that so interesting. We'll have to have you on my show because sure. I want to know, like, as opposed to being bisexual,
right?
Pansexual, it always intrigues me and I love it and I honor it, but I think it's very cool. So
the big difference for me with pansexuality, because I turned 40 this year, so bisexuality was definitely, pansexuality wasn't a term. It might have been, but it wasn't in our circles.
No.
Certainly not my Christian high school. So, when I learned it though, probably, I think I heard it first from a client in sex therapy, and I was like, what's that? And I had to go look it up, and I went, oh, that makes so much more sense, because I have met people, obviously, one of my specialties is working with trans population. I'm the number one provider of writing HRT letters of referral in my area. And I've definitely met some attractive trans people.
Sure.
And so if we're going bisexual, depending upon how that trans person looks at his or herself
or theirself,
right? Exactly. Then that does not fit. So I asked them, and my youngest, who's now 13, first she came out as pan, which is not a big surprise because her mom's pan and she had permission to,
sure,
explore that. Although we'll wait and see how pansexuality makes sense. It's a good cover. So cover all umbrella term.
And children in general these days, I think just don't put me in a damn box. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and you're going to be okay with it. And I love them for that.
Exactly. And I think we're going to continue to see more and more of that. But she also just the past couple of months came out as gender fluid. Some days she's a she, and other days they're a they. And so if someone's attracted to my kiddo, then bisexuality doesn't fit.
I got you. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty open.
I love it. Well, my partner, I always joke, like I came out of a straight marriage and partnered up with the gayest woman in America. She owns two companies. One is called the Gay Wedding Institute, where they educate wedding industry professionals on working with and working with the community. But the other one is the Equality Institute. And so it's diversity and inclusion training. And this is the one that's really become extraordinarily wonderful and impactful in the world. And she does a lot of frontline employee training for how to work with or how to customer service work with trans folks. And the work is so interesting. And I've learned so much from everything that she does. It's really, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have a better and deeper understanding of all of those letters, LGBTQIA.
The rainbow spectrum. Yes.
The rainbow spectrum. Yeah. It's so interesting to me and so wonderful and so beautiful.
Yeah. And so sometimes I'll even trip myself up with language because language is so powerful. And then it's also nothing at all. It just depends upon the person using it. And so I have some trans clients that will not even adopt the trans label in front of it. They come in and they're like, I am female. And I'm like, you sure are. Absolutely. And then there are others that for them, it is part of their journey to own the trans label in front of it. It's part of their advocacy for others. And so that, I think, was my first inquiry in thinking about, I'm not sure bisexual alone works. And then I started meeting people who are gender fluid and gender queer and bigendered and agendered. And so people are like, why do you need this extra label of pan? Because it's called respect.
Yeah. And why do I need to answer to you about why I don't want it either?
If I'm not sleeping with you, then it shouldn't matter.
And even so, but yeah, that's been, and my little kids they go to a progressive education school that's social justice learning and oriented and all these wonderful things. This is so easy for them. And I struggle. I mean, I do really pretty well, but we were just having a conversation about a woman that we're friends with who's a trans woman. And I've only ever known her as her. And yesterday, out of the blue, I called her him. And I was like, what did I just do? Whoa. And I don't even know why or how. And she's always been, it was so random. So sometimes I screw it up and I try to just own it when I do. But my kids are really intuitive at sort of looking and going, I'm going to go with they, them, there.
Yep.
I'll just do that and they can correct me later if they want. They don't even think about it. they can just
a switch they flip.
See.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's so cool to watch.
It is amazing. I think my journey was even more slightly complicated, perhaps, although I'm guessing yours had a similar take, because I did move into polyamory first before I owned my pansexuality.
No, I've been there, done that.
Exactly. So that to me helped. And I just came out of that closet to my parents. I've been polyamorous now for almost a decade, but it was only until I recently swapped primary partners that I had to be like, so about Thanksgiving, Mom.
Wow.
I know there's rumors going around that there's been infidelity, but there wasn't. Let's talk about what's going on. Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. Oh, you got to have you on my show. That's really interesting to me. We played in polyamory as well. And that didn't work out for us.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
for a lot of people.
Again, I wouldn't change anything. I learned an awful lot of lessons that my parents really struggled with.
Mine too.
Definitely. So you swatch. How do your kids handle that switch?
I was open with them I've actually been divorced twice now. Yep. Still a marriage counselor. But
I used to be a wedding planner.
Yeah. Still wholeheartedly believe in the supposed sanctimony of marriage when it is something that you want. But I also, like you, do not believe in staying in a situation that has gone past its expiration date in the way that it was. I mean, I'm still great friends with my second ex-husband, and he's still a part of my kid's life. He takes him for dinner every Monday night, him and his new wife. He has found, and I hope this happens for your ex, he's found his person, and she's a first grade teacher, and she's such a lovely human being, and love her. And they take my kids out for dinner. It's great. And buy them things when they want. So
isn't that lovely?
Love can be multiplied, not divided. Another polyamorous concept. And so when that divorce happened, we had been polyamorous for a few years of that marriage, actually over half of it. And so I finally explained it to them because they were confused as to why, Mommy was seeing someone else. It seemed quick to them. And they also were confused. They just assumed that everyone I brought over before that was either Mommy's friend or everyone was gay, because Mommy had lots of gay friends.
Right. That's funny.
Didn't click that Mommy might actually be sleeping with them. And so they also just thought that my ex went out, with friends a lot. And he was.
Yeah, good friends.
Yes, good friends. But given how, Mommy specialties are in sexuality and gender, so we're pretty open anyway. And so I waited until they were, I think, 11 and 14. And I was like, hey, listen, y'all know there's this thing called polyamory. And that some people, choose to have that as part of their marriage. So just to let you in, this is actually what happened. And my youngest was like, I knew it. I told you, Megan. I knew that Ben liked Mommy. I told you that.
Oh, that's funny.
My oldest was like, really? I didn't see that coming. Huh. But they've been fine with it since then. It actually relieved them. It made a lot more sense for them. And they said, gave my youngest permission to also like girls.
Yeah, that's nice.
Mommy had a boyfriend and Mommy had a girlfriend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
I love your progressive family.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's also quite amazing. I'm proud of them.
Yeah.
But it's also brought us to good conversations about boundaries. Amazing conversations about boundaries.
Well, to be successful in polyamory, your boundaries have to be so strong.
So strong.
It's been interesting. The couple that we were involved in, the biggest issue we ended up having was it was a married couple, two women, and they did not have children at that time.
Right.
And couldn't understand my commitment to maintaining my relationship with the father of my children at all costs because of my children. Exactly. And B, that my children always took precedence.
Yes.
Since it's been many, many years since we broke things off. And since then, they have reached out to me. They have a child and they said, oh,
we get it.
Now we get it. We're really sorry. And there are some things I wish that I had done differently, but there's no point in that. Yeah, exactly. But I knew, and I always held firm, and I was like, you'll get it one day. And I wasn't apologetic about it. And, my kids are the number one priority always. And that's fine. So,
Me too.
interesting.
I think that's another reason that I, was like, ooh, girl crush on you, social media wise, was because you talk about how one of your strongest personal boundaries is to not work when you have your kids. Like they are your focus. And I was thinking, that's true for me as much as possible. Sometimes I might have to do an evening session or whatever, but they're teenagers now. And I'm the primary residential parent. So I may be like, whatever, mommy's going to be on a call.
Totally different. I have my kids 50% of the time. Mm-hmm. And so there are no excuses for me. When they're with me, they're with me. And very, very rarely will I break that boundary if something absolutely urgent, which in my line of work is not pretty rare. I'm very strong about it. And so it means that I need to have my shit together when I am working. I need to be on point. I need to practice what I preach with my systems and my boundaries so that I can be efficient in my work. It's not about being productive. I'm not a computer, but efficient and effective.
Amen.
And as we were on vacation for the last week, and I believe in the power of delegation, and I have an amazing team of folks that work with me. And I literally did not look. I had no Wi-Fi access, did not look at my computer, my email, Instagram, Facebook, anything for 5 solid days. And it was fabulous.
I love it. It's actually another strong core value of mine of whoever I'm with, whether it's especially in polyamory, but even just friendships. Like when I am with you, it is your time.
Yeah.
It is me and you right now. Yeah.
I literally have "be here now" tattooed on my inner left wrist.
So good.
Remind me like, okay, stop, be here. You're right here. Because you never know when it's gone.
It's so true. The existentialist in me is applauding.
Are we best friends?
Totally.
Best friends? I was
hoping you were feeling it. So before I let you go, because I could talk to you forever, tell us about your podcast and where people can come hang out with you.
Totally. So my show's called The Brave Files, and I interview people who in both really big ways and also really small ways choose every day to step out of fear and into bravery and to live courageously. So we have interviews from social justice warriors to women who have struggled with infertility, to people who were wrongly imprisoned, to trans folks, and I try not to just tell, I can't tell the story of somebody who quit their job and started their own business every day. Like there's got to be So really interesting across the board. And the big takeaway that I get from everyone and then all my listeners is that you come away with a new concept of how to choose bravely in all of the ways in your life and how that enriches your life and the life of those around you. So it's easy to find. You can listen to it anywhere you listen to podcasts. And I'm absolutely going to have you on the show. I can't wait to do so because we have a lot to talk about. Mm-hmm. But I love it. It's a feel good. It's an inspiration. It's deeply related to the core values of my business, how to live an authentic life and to choose bravely. And we have a good time every week. There's a charity component every week.
Nice.
Just something that's really important to me. So each guest will tell us a charity that they support, and then we make that the charity of the week, and we give them a little bit of love because I think that's what's going to build community and make the world go round in a much happier way than it seems to be right now.
Oh, swoon. Conscious entrepreneurship. Hello.
Thank you.
And where can they come hang out with you on the interwebs, like Facebook, social media?
Yeah, all the places. vickeryandco.com is my website. If you really want to connect, I do 15-minute coffee chats just to get to know people. And I love connection 100%. And so that was my word of the year last year. Nice. This year it's explore. So it still fits in. I want to explore getting to know you.
Yeah.
And so you can set that up with me at any point. I'm on Facebook. It's at Vickery and Co. Instagram, Twitter at Vickery and Co. Super easy to find. My kids think it's fabulous that you can type in my name in Google and my picture pops up. So
famous.
I was like, you guys don't understand how the internet works, do you?
My kids had a slight moment when like it hit on iTunes, et cetera. And they're like, you're on iTunes? My friends are on iTunes. Oh, that's weird. I highly doubt they're finding me, babe. It's okay.
That would be funny.
It would be really funny. Yeah. Oh, you are such a joy. I love your platform. Thank you so much for this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It was really so much fun. I can't wait to keep talking. And now we're best friends. So Yay. It's all good.
Thanks Thanks for listening to the Sacred Psychology Podcast. I pray you found some inspiration and empowerment to go out and make this life the most fulfilling possible. You can follow Sacred Psychology on Facebook and YouTube. If you haven't yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Tag us on social media and let us know what you think as well. Please note that the information provided is not meant to convey professional, psychological, or medical advice. If you could use such services, I highly recommend seeking them out from someone you trust. To get in touch with me personally or to see how we might work together, please check out ariatherapy.com or talesfromatrapezoid.com. Until next time, everyone.